Purim is a special yontif in which we speak about being besimcha. What's the blessing of Purim? You know, generally speaking, yontif, we say a good yontif, but on Purim we say a freilichem Purim. Purim sameach. Purim sameach. Now, what we need to know is that the mitzvahs hayoim b'simcha. You know, the special inyan of Purim is to be b'simcha to the extent where the Gemara speaks about the obligation to have to drink more than customary until you don't know the distinction between Baruch Mordechai and Oror Haman. And although the Rebbe Bechlal gave out a decree that anybody younger than 40 years of age should not drink to excess. Anybody younger than 40 years should not drink more than 4 lechayims in little cups. In little cups, not in big cups, but in little cups. However, there are many who, when it comes to the yontif of Purim, go beyond the limitations and believe that under certain circumstances that is not exactly what the Rebbe meant. Although the Rebbe used to say that I say what I mean and I mean what I say. Nobody should ever suggest that what I say, there are other interpretations for it. But we know that the whole month of Adar is a month, the Nahapechu, which became transformed into a month of blessing. And how do we express the fact that there are blessings? By being besimcha, by being happy. And being happy is an automatic expression of happiness. Now, one of the things, those of us who have had the merit of having personal contact with the Rebbe, or those of us who have had the merit of being in contact with the Rebbe through his teachings, through Maimorim, or through Siches, and as is also very well known, that the Rebbe explained many times that how does one become connected to him? It has nothing to do with being in his presence. It has to do by being inspired by his teachings, by doing what he indicates to do as the path to be able to serve Hashem. So one of the things that we have merited by being in contact with the Rebbe was actually seeing how many of these things that are written in the books, the Rebbe actually brought them to life. The Rebbe brought to life concepts that we find in the Torah, which we were able to see with our own eyes. And one of the things that the Rebbe was able to show us was how when a person becomes happy, and I'm going to speak about the concept of how can you be happy if you have no reason to, if you think you have no reason to be happy.
Or lack of cash, same thing, right?
A lack of cash is not necessarily the same thing. There are lack of cash, lack of health, lack of nachas. There are different things which are essential to a person and which in actual fact which in actual fact make it very, very difficult. It is extremely difficult to be happy when you are suffering. Extremely difficult. You know, we do not imagine, we cannot conceive of the idea of somebody being happy when he has gone through a terrible loss. Yeah, something that I have related not long ago at a shiur. I've spoken about the fact that the Gemara says that in the same way that when a person goes through a matter, an experience which is negative, you need to be able to say, thank Hashem, in the same way we thank Hashem for good, we thank Hashem for bad. And Rashi says, Rashi explains that in the same way we thank Hashem for good, we thank Him for bad, likibulei b'simcha, to be able to accept what has happened to you with joy, with happiness. Now, of course, conceptually, one can possibly find a way to intellectualize that something that seems bad is really not bad. However, the reality of life for simple people, when bad things happen, you feel miserable. So there was once a Rav who was himself a wealthy businessman. He was very successful, and his business was shipping rafts of wood, selling wood from the forest, shipping it to the big city, making a profit, etc., etc. And at the same time, he built up a yeshiva in which he was the Rosh Yeshiva. And one of the things that he used to emphasize was how we always have to be thankful to Hashem, regardless of what happens. And he always used to explain, the explanations being that whatever happens from Hashem, Hashem is good, and Hashem is the essence of good. And furthermore, we know that things that seem to be bad come from a higher source. So something that seems to be bad, you have to welcome even greater than it would be something that is good, because it comes from a higher source. And he used to emphasize this particular teaching to his students again and again. It happened on one occasion where he had all of his goods on a ship, and the ship sunk. And with the sinking of the ship, in actual fact, he became impoverished. He would have become impoverished. But he was unaware of what was going on. The family was aware. The family was aware of what happened, and they needed to tell him. But they didn't know how to approach him, how to actually say to him that he has suddenly become a poor man. He has suddenly lost his whole fortune. Yeah, absolutely. I am not going to mention any names. But as you all would know, over the course of years, I have had contact with very wealthy people. Very many, not just one. Everybody will identify one person. Quite a number of very wealthy people.
Shaker.
Yitzchok.
Who'd like a beer?
Just, please, Yitzchok, no further, please.
Anyone like a beer? Anyone like a beer over here?